You're listening to Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. Comics, television, movies, and more. If it impacts fan culture, we have something to say about it. And now, your hosts, Michael, Jordan, Cliff, and Seth.
Okay, we're at number 6, right?
We are currently at number 6. Let's give a update to the countdown. We started with number 12. I picked the classic 80s Hawkeye costume. It was vetoed by Cliff, and I replaced it with Sunfire from the Giant Size X-Men. At number 11, Cliff picked Zatanna and her pantsless tuxedo. We all enjoy it. Number 10, Michael went with the 52 Blue Beetle mecha. Then the number 9, Animal Man from Jordan. Very simplistic, cool costume with jacket for his keys. Number 8, we have Captain Marvel. So someone with a lightning bolt on their chest and a doily and a classic costume. Number 7.
The man Captain Marvel, be specific.
Yeah. Yes. Shazam.
Shazam. The lady Captain Marvel.
Right. And then at number 7, Michael, there was a lot of controversy. Michael went with Colossus, and we thought maybe he liked the metal more than the costume. So Jordan used one of his 2 vetoes to veto that. And then he replaced it with another Don Heck, Nightcrawler. Also, it seems more man than costume. And I had to make a move and use my 1 veto to try to clean this list up. And he came back with a solid pick of John Walker as the captain/U.S. agent. I backed him up, and nobody fought us too hard on it. So we got a cool costume on there to finish up the first half of our list. So now it was a number 7. And now at number 6, Jordan gets to come back, and this will be his last pick before the ultimate number 1.
Yeah.
So
I've got a few others I'd love to get on this list, but I'm going to go with my number 2 pick. One of my highest of all time. Again, I like the simple costumes, and I love me some Daredevil. So going from this yellow monstrosity at the beginning for just a few issues, that was one of the worst costumes in history, to the Man Without Fear version that they adapted into the Netflix show with the all black, just the vigilante look. He's had a few other. He had the armor look in the 90s. The black with the red highlights, but the all-time classic is just the most simple look, sleek, all red, just the trunks and the gloves, the perfect logo, devil horns, no eyes. Frank Miller perfected it, made it look, he could look like a devil at times. He could scare bad guys to death, and I just love the all red look from some of my favorite books of all time. And the only improvement they made on it in modern times, they add the boxing glove wraps to his hands. And that just looks so cool. I know they've done it in white before that I like even better. I couldn't find a good image of it. But when he's beat up and bloody and his costume's ripped and those straps are hanging off his wrists, but he's still ready to fight, that nothing in comics looks cooler than that. So I'm going with the classic Daredevil. Like I said, the costume hasn't changed much, but I love the little addition. It looks more like boxing trunks and the boxing, obviously to honor his father, the boxer.
Yeah, and I don't think this is any surprise to probably any of us that Jordan would be the one to pick this one. I always thought it was, as he's showing off his t-shirt, I always liked this too for the same reasons, but I always thought it was kind of neat because Daredevil is just the way he moves. I always thought it fit very well. It's not clunky. It's not It's not really flowy or anything. There's no cape or anything like that. So it just the way he moves, and is kind of almost at times graceful. I always felt that sleek red, tight suit always fit him well. And it's interesting you said about the wraps, because I always thought that same thing about in the DC world with Wildcat. Boxer, kind of that same thing. I always thought was so cool, when they show him and even, after a fight, and he'd have the blood on the wraps and stuff hanging down and all beat up. But yeah, no surprise here.
Jordan, what do you think of the current version of the costume being worn by Elektra?
That looks cool too. Elektra would almost make my list as well. Just that ninja look with the headband and the long draping scarves and stuff. I love all that. And
that's good to know, because I wouldn't veto that.
So what do you think, Michael?
Please.
And they've also done they've updated his boots modern to look more like boxer, with the laces that go all the way up. Again, that modern touch that maybe Silver Age artists wouldn't sit and draw every lace on the boot. But they're doing more the modern day.
I'm indifferent to it. I like the little horn motif, on the mask design. To me, it's always been a little too simple. Frank Miller is the one that did the iconic run on it, and he made him look so good by adding a lot of black, more almost like silhouette into his costume to make the DD stand out more. Oddly enough, I do like the horrendous yellow costume that D-Man later wears.
Yeah.
I am so torn on this. Seth, you give your 2 cents.
Well, I was curious whether anybody was going to veto it, but doesn't sound like Cliff would. Michael, were you going to veto that? Were you thinking about it? You're thinking about it? Okay, let me tell you my thoughts. This probably would have been my number 5. I was kind of hoping Jordan would come up with this before me. I could have seen it as number 1. If you'd told me it was his number 1, I said, well, he shouldn't have worn that T-shirt on here. But I also am a fan of the yellow. But once they did the wrappings on the hands, I fell in love with that stuff. I think that's genius. First off, the simplicity of the costume, but then the wrapping of the hands, tying that in with the boxing, is just amazing. And for you to call this simplistic, Michael, is crazy. It's classic. This is classic stuff. You loved Captain Marvel, but this is simplistic. Like you said, you even argued for it. All the shadows and everything. That it always looks good. It's iconic. I mean, there's so many DC costumes that are this is a classic hero costume. I'm sure we're gonna see some big DC guys here coming up, and all their costumes look like this, and they're all great. I think
it's just fantastic. The fact that it's just all one color.
Yeah,
awesome. I think that's always bothered me. From
who cares? He's blind.
He doesn't know it's one color, Michael.
Well, that's the joke at the end of Man Without Fear. Here, he's like, I can't read the caption. Let me zoom in.
Nice.
God only knows what it looks like.
Exactly. Perfect. Yeah, I'm a strong lover of the Daredevil costume, so it falls to you, Michael, whether it gets vetoed or not. It's no Nightcrawler.
I could happily pick it again at number 1 with my next pick.
Yeah, you're welcome to veto it. I would love to see this at number 1.
Just because of that, I am not going to veto it.
Played into my hands.
There's one. Never mind. Just continue on.
This is the good stuff, guys. We only get to do this one time, so enjoy it. So at number 6, we have the classic Daredevil costume with the wrist additions that we love, that just made it perfection. So at number 5, oh, it's me. I really didn't know that. So I need to look at my list here. See what we got. Wow. It's exciting.
While he's looking, I definitely love the Natasha Daredevil costume. I think that looks killer from what I've seen of it.
I think I'm going to throw a wrench here. Okay. I don't mean this as throwing a wrench and everything. Like, I just like this costume. And so if somebody has to use a veto because they don't think it's the right version or something, so be it. That's all I can say. Spider-Man 2099.
Really?
I love that. I love that costume. The Day of the Dead logo, the red and blue, black, whatever was ever going on there. I just like that version of Spider-Man. I remember collecting it in the early 90s. I collected all that 2099 stuff. But there's some great stuff in there. Let's see. How are you switching between pictures? Let's see. I can go with this. That's all. It doesn't show that much of it, but Jordan, what are your thoughts?
Not my favorite.
You don't like that?
I only read a tiny bit of it.
I'm not talking about the story.
I'm just saying I don't have a deep connection to it.
Okay, you didn't read it. Yeah.
So it's a version of Spider-Man that's always like, oh yeah, that guy. So I've never given it a whole lot of thought. And there's a whole lot of versions of Spider-Man, and I don't know that this would be in my top 5 versions of Spider-Man, let alone my top 5 of all time.
Wow. Well, I get that. I wasn't trying to provoke a veto from anyone, but you will not break my heart if anyone does do it. I personally really like this version.
I have to agree with Jordan, and it's not even a Spider-Man thing. It's I've only seen this a few times.
Cliff famously hates Spider-Man. By the way,
who is this guy? Who is this Spider-Man? I don't even know.
Miguel O'Hara, is that his name?
Yes.
Okay. There was a cartoon on Fox at one point, right? Like in the 90s or early 2000s, somewhere in there, that had this character.
Yeah.
That's what I remember. I remember thinking at that time, that doesn't look like Spider-Man.
This is all from the line of Marvel books that they did. That was 2099. They had the X-Men, they had Punisher, Ravager. They had a Ghost Rider and a Hulk, and it was in an X-Men. It was kind of like the future of what these characters were going to be.
Were they all this ugly?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
It was 1992, 93. Yeah. So yeah.
I don't know. It
just
doesn't.
A Doom to 2099.
It doesn't have it has the red on it, but like Spider-Man to me has always been, it's a very almost kind of busy costume. There's a lot of details to it, and I don't.
It's a different
feel
thing.
that.
I'm not comparing it to Spider-Man necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying this costume as its own, I really like. You're welcome to veto it. Take your turns, Jordan. But I wanted to say it is in my top 10, so I'm saying it here. You're welcome to veto it.
I feel like Cliff and Seth have an animosity going on tonight, so I feel like it's Cliff's character to veto. So.
I don't have a veto. I only have a veto.
Nice way to save that veto.
Yeah, I only have a veto override left. I don't have a veto left.
So. Yeah, he doesn't have a veto.
Cliff doesn't have a veto. Then I will veto it.
Okay, great. Fantastic. Thanks.
Good, because I didn't like it either. I hate that.
Wow. I'm curious to hear if
Let
everyone...
him have it, Michael. He berated you for 10 minutes.
Oh,
Tell him every reason he's wrong.
I do not care. I just like at least this at least has a picture on it. His had a vagina. This has the Day of the Dead going with his
Michael, tell him why it's crap.
Oh,
the
please. Before I will say this. First off, this has nothing to do with the character. It's a costume, but go on.
But what is the character's name?
Spider-Man 2099, Miguel O'Hara. That's why is the
What does that have? What does that design have anything to do with Spider-Man? Absolutely zero, nothing.
They should have done a 2099 across them.
Yeah,
I think there is a 2099.
I totally agree, Cliff. Then it would have made the list. If you just had the number calling back to what you came.
And the other thing to me is like, I guess that they're trying to make that look like a spider.
Don't even look at it
with
anymore.
The skull.
You don't deserve it. I'm glad you guys don't like it.
Okay, you got to pick another one.
Yeah, I get to.
Yeah,
you're right. I get to pick another one.
Actually, you have the 4 too, so you get to pick 2 more at least.
I'm well aware. You guys,
we are now at his mercy.
You guys remember what you've done. Like I'm starting to have to reach into the bag, and I have 2 in the top 5. I will always end up with 2 in the top 5. So just imagine what. So Jordan used his last veto.
That seemed more like a collective group veto. That wasn't just personal.
It's great. Michael, you still have a veto?
I do. I'm really glad Jordan used his, because if not, I was going to use it.
Yeah, I had a feeling. All right. Well, let's see here. I'm going with one of the coolest costumes in comics in the last 20 years. The Winter Soldier.
Oh.
I just love. I mean, when this happened, when Brubaker wrote that run, you don't bring back anybody, especially Uncle Ben and Bucky, and he found a way to do it, and we got this costume. It's the militaristic Snake Eyesy costume, but the arm added,
he's got the Colossus arm.
It's got with the
It's
star.
not about the arm.
Yeah.
It's about the costume.
Veto it. Veto it. I got picks for days. It's got the mask and the goggles. You love goggles.
Nothing screams. Wait a minute. I'm calling an audible.
Veto it.
Well, no, I'm calling an audible because this is superheroes. You're pulling up the Winter Soldier costume.
He's a good guy now. He's a good guy now.
Yeah, but
was I saving him for my villain list? Yes. Do I use him now? Do I use him now because everybody's vetoing everything I put up here?
I don't know that you can. He's not.
Oh, shut up! He's a good guy. You don't get to. You don't get to make that determination.
If you would have pulled him up in his Captain America,
veto it.
Guys, what say you?
So this version here looks exactly like what we got in the movies originally.
A villain.
Right, a villain. Yeah. But as a look, it's I guess I have trouble with this one just saying it's just
you're locked in DC. It's not all I want to say names of DC heroes that I know are going to show up here, and it's like it's not, they can't all top 5 be those. So at some point you guys are going to have to let me put something on here.
No, I'm just saying the costume itself, like, because I relate it to the movie when he first showed up and we didn't know it was Bucky. and he had the
Smoky
long
eyes.
hair and the mask and the goggles. You couldn't see his face, and it was such a big reveal when that happened. You know, that was a very a shocking thing. A lot of people didn't expect in that movie, in a positive way. You know, like, oh, holy crap, that's, you know, Bucky's back. I'm okay with this. I don't love it. I don't hate it. I think it, you know, it does, you know, what am I trying to say here? It's not his classic look, but that every time it has that kind of stripe across the chest, it always kind of reminds me of who he is, like that, you know, just a little hint there in that design. So.
And there's just such a world of difference between, like, you know, a 1940s Captain Marvel costume with a lightning bolt and an ultra modern, realistic looking military style suit. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to pick, well, which one's better, because they're so different. But yeah, he, for a character created so recently to be this well known and this iconic already, is very rare in comics. There's not a whole lot of characters that have been invented since Winter Soldier that are as well known and well loved as him. So a costume can't hurt. Can't be the reason to take away from that.
No, can't do it. Veto.
You're gonna now, Michael. If you
Go
veto
on, yes.
here,
the crowd's
there's no
not
more
happy.
left.
I'm just telling you. I've got a pipeline into the future. The people listening, and they disagree. They disagree with you guys. They love the Winter Soldier. They love that costume. They think it's cool. I have a guy at work that he liked the Falcon and Winter Soldier show, but he was so irritated that anytime he was not just being full on Winter Soldier coolness, he just didn't care about clean cut Bucky. You know, he wanted the full deal. Just telling you, people love it.
It's just crazy that we're to the top 5, and there's like some major popular characters that haven't been mentioned and likely won't be.
Yeah, you can't count on other people to come up with them. Okay, guys, we're back, and I am putting in at number 5 because you continuously vetoed everything I've done. You have no more vetoes. I'm going off script. I'm putting in something. It isn't even a comic book character. You're running me out of town.
This is how far we've followed.
Now, this is the only reason I'm putting it up here. And if you absolutely, I will give you guys, if 2 out of 3 of you say no way, I will take it off. But this was let me see here. Dang it. This was what inspired the list. So
we're still at number 5.
Yeah, it's number 5. Trying to get it up here. Okay, here we go. The original Mr. Incredible uniform. I love it. It's better than the normal Mr. Incredible.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Uniform. At the beginning of that movie, when he's got this sucker on, going around the Incredicar or whatever it's called, Incredible Mobile or
the Incredicar.
Incredicar. I love that design. It's got the eye. This looks like something Michael K. Easton would say they stole from him.
I'm not saying a word.
No, you guys can say I can't do it. You're welcome to. It would be a very Ka-Pow list to throw this on here right now. I'm not going to put what you guys want me to put on here. So, what are thoughts? If you guys don't like it,
I'm okay with it. I think
Cliff likes it. He's an incredible guy.
I like the pick. It's out of the box. I like that. It's a good design. That
this is as good as any of those. Anything past this tell me this isn't as good as that. Come on.
Well, it doesn't remind me of anything different, and I like that.
Right. It's not Shazam.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't look like that. It's a different design. A lot of silence. You guys hate this. You hate it. This is an audio podcast. Also.
I like the idea because it is very comic book centric, like the whole premise. But at the same time, I feel like it deviates from what we're doing.
Okay.
So I'm kind of torn. I could go either way.
They've made a lot of comics from The Incredibles. It maybe didn't have its origin in comics, but it's
They make Incredibles comics.
yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
Done.
Okay.
Then it works.
Okay. Now you got.
Okay, they can't veto it, so I'm not going to sit here and fight about something you can't veto if you agree it was in comics. Boom. The original Mr. Incredible costume that inspired the list is on here. Ah, that was exhausting. I still have another pick.
There might be a 3-parter.
At number 4. Let me try to get this in here. Jeez. All right. My number 4. Sorry, Jordan. It's happening. Nothing you can do about it. I wasn't going to do it. You guys vetoed everything else. So I'm perfectly comfortable slotting in the Jack Kirby cap at number 4.
I would like to know who did what on his design of the costume, because there's 2 different versions of that, of who created what.
You mean there's some controversy over who created some comic book characters?
Yeah.
Because rumor.
Yeah, like, you know, Jack says he came up with it, and then of course Joe said he came up with it. So
it's just, I cut my teeth on this stuff. When I saw this costume, that was it. When I stole that kid's box of comics, when his dad gave them to me and said, "Here, you like comics? Take these for my son. Get out of here." With Cap 199 or whatever. And I was just like, who is this guy flipping around in this red, white, blue costume? And then I saw it on cover of that Avengers comic. I was like, there's that guy again. Definitely stuck out next to all the other heroes in their generic-ish costumes. And I love it. It's my number 1 guy, and it's the number 4 pick. Any thoughts? You guys just gonna cry about it, or does anybody like Captain America's costume?
I love it. I love it way more than U.S. Agent.
Right,
So,
me too.
It's higher.
I'm glad
and it's
that
higher on the list.
Yeah.
I feel a little ripped off that the 2 different versions of the same costume are on the list.
Yep.
It's
I
the
feel
same,
like
but black.
you guys did that to yourselves. So that's how it works. And
again, this is another costume that they've tried to slightly update over the years, but it's always pretty much gone back to the very iconic look.
Yeah.
It has honestly stood the test of time. It's a great costume.
I do like the Ultimates version where they he's got the pouches. He didn't have to put a jacket on. You know, he got some pouches for his keys and stuff. He's got the combat boots instead of the Buccaneers. He's got he lost the wings and stuff, but I like the classic.
Now, if you go to the Ultimate version of the World War II, he had the jacket.
That's also great. He's got the helmet.
Yeah.
That's also great. I love that also.
The chainmail can look iffy depending on who draws it.
I hate Cassidy's. Is that who drew that run?
Yeah.
Volume 4.
Up.
I remember I hated that each different piece of chainmail was so defined. It was too much.
I feel like the more subtle it is, the better, where it's just hinted at rather than a million little squiggles. But
yeah. All right. So, wow. It's a struggle. But We got some stuff on there.
Yeah, it's definitely a top 4 costume for me, but I you know, compared to the other stuff on this list, it's I don't know, it's just could be a controversial pick, but we got 3 more to go, so they all better be doozies.
Exactly. You guys signed up for a lot of criticism. So at number 3, Cliff with his last pick.
Yeah, so I'm just I had a lot lined up here that I really wanted to talk about and wanted to share, and I'm a little disappointed we haven't gotten to talk about some of those, but I'm gonna just stay to my board. I had a top 10 list coming into this. This is gonna be my highest pick, so I got to go with what I had at number 1. Okay. So let me go ahead and
it's
share.
It's kind of nice here. The last 4, we each get a pick. No one can veto. These last 4 picks are our number 1s, basically.
Yeah, right. That's it. And it will feel like that. You know, mine will have been Cap.
Huh.
Green Arrow. Go ahead.
I'm just curious. You veto Hawkeye, but you like Green Arrow's costume.
Yeah. And that was partially when that first pick. I was like, no, we're not going to have 2 of this when one is far superior to the other.
Do you guys remember when we did the versus list? Wasn't that the only one we couldn't pick a winner of? We matched up.
Yeah, we did 2-2.
Could not pick a winner between Hawkeye and Green Arrow. It was the most evenly matched of the matchup.
That's true. Yeah. Good callback.
Yeah, this classic Green
Arrow. They did somehow.
Somehow only one is on the list.
This is at number 3, yeah.
I don't know what it is about this version that I love so much, because there have been several different variations of Green Arrow. We've seen him with the hood, a younger look, but this look here, I think, before I knew really anything about Green Arrow, when the Superpowers toy collection came out in 1985, that figure, my eyes just went to it. The classic.
You're like, I like green.
Yeah, the classic Robin Hood look, multicolors of green. But the costume design, I know he's got some, Michael, he's kind of got almost some pointy shoulders too. But I love this Archer look on him, with the different shades of green, the Robin Hood cap, the quiver, slung across his back, and the bow. And then he has, of course, those classic, whatever those are on his forearms.
It's a protector for shooting a bow.
For
whatever that's called. Yeah,
I don't know what the proper name for it is, but it
has a function. It has a function.
Mm-hmm. And one little detail I always loved in this, on the right hand image here, is these little strings here that always went across his chest, and I don't know what it is about that little detail. I think I just always thought it looked so neat. And then with that high kind of, it's not really a turtleneck, it's kind of loose around there, but it just completes the look of the whole thing. The classic domino mask, and that blonde, kind of shaggy goatee, look at him. I've always loved that look.
Cliff, buddy, I'm right on your wavelength on this list. He was in my top 5 as well, so I love Green Arrow.
I always preferred the Mike Grell with the hood look.
Yeah, let me share my screen a second, Cliff.
Okay, hold on.
Because I had the exact same thought. Because the original look is like the Robin Hood takeoff in the Golden Age.
Right.
And that looks a little silly. So we modernized him here, updated. It still has the Robin Hood feather in the cap and all that stuff.
Yeah,
I had the same picture you did.
That's it right there.
But yeah, when Mike Grell took over in the 80s.
That's it right there.
And they darkened it up a little bit, gave him the hood, the more hunter look, the urban hunter.
The longbow hunter stuff. That, I like that cowl. I dig everything you're saying, Cliff, but I do prefer the hood.
And see, I think part of it is because that's where it was introduced to him. That classic, motion picture Robin Hood cap is what was on that toy. And I was just like, immediately, I was like, oh, crap, that's Robin.
Errol Flynn.
Immediately. Yeah, Errol Flynn. Robin Hood. I'm like, that's it right there. So I've always preferred the hat to the hood, but the costume as a whole is, I think you can't miss with it.
They're both very similar.
Oh, that's a good pun. He doesn't miss.
He doesn't miss. Yeah. There's no Hawkeye.
You people in your one color costumes.
Yeah. Yeah, he likes two colors. I like that costume a lot. You know, it wasn't gonna be on my list because I had Hawkeye on there, but I love the costume. I love an archer in any form, so definitely deserves to be in the top 5. I love it. So good job, Cliff. Cliff completes his list of Zatanna, Captain Marvel, Shazam, Billy Batson, and Green Arrow. Now we move on to the number 2, Michael, which I think this works out because we know what he's going to pick, and maybe not. Wow. And Jordan, there's 2 that I think could be either one, and I'm really kind of excited to find out. So
that's why I'm trying to think what Jordan's number 1 is.
No hints. I want to really see what Michael's going to do here. This is your last pick, Michael. Nobody's going to veto you, so you're not going to get a second.
I honestly feel like it might be Jordan's also, but all right. God, I'm sick to my stomach. Here is my number 2 pick. Dun, dun, dun.
It's going to appear behind him first. Lose all the drama, and then he's going to flip it around in front of him.
Spider-Man!
Who are
Does
you?
whatever a spider can!
Who are you?
You've totally screwed up Jordan's list. This was what
I
I
was
picked.
afraid that Jordan would have this as
This was going to be his number 1, I'm guessing. And
Can I switch it?
Nope.
Can I change it?
Nope. This is number 2. Jordan gets to use his backup, or he can play it as his number 1.
What do you love about this one, Michael?
Yeah, for not a Marvel guy, for a guy who worships Superman, what makes this better than Superman, the all-time iconic look?
How did Superman
not
make
disagree.
your? Oh no, we are totally with you. We can make your argument for you why this costume's great, but how is Superman? So you are saying Superman's worse than that Beetle 52 thing?
Because, well, here's my thoughts on this.
Forever, I will throw that in your face. This is worse than Colossus, worse than Nightcrawler.
Let him have his moment.
When I was thinking of costume designs and when they were created and how they were, with Superman, I went back to the original version of the costume and the way it was created. And I was just looking at different costumes in the designs over the years. And due to the design, the popularity of it, this is the most original superhero costume we've ever had from the beginning.
While you're talking, can I ask Jordan to share some pictures of it because yours suck?
It's because my screen is not.
That's all. That's what I
to
mean.
do.
Your screen, but he's probably got some better examples.
Yeah, I wanted a good Steve Ditko picture of him.
Right there is Amazing Fantasy 15, the first appearance you ever saw of him, and it's perfect.
See, I didn't pick that because Jack Kirby designed the layout for that.
There's some controversy who did what and who did what, but as far as how many characters from their very first appearance is the iconic look.
Yeah.
Immediately.
That has never changed. I mean, they've put him in different costumes, variations again, but
yeah, they put him in quite a. I'm sure there's a 2099 right up top there. We got Miles Morales to give him some extra arms. The clone, the Scarlet Spider,
the Ham,
Spider Ham, the Iron suit. I mean, they've done everything you could to it, and nothing tops the classic. Now, some people draw it more black than blue for the contrast.
I do like that more. Like the Ditko version, it was more black. Because when Eric Larson drew Spider-Man, he made all the blue black, and that was real popular. And people were commenting on that, and he was going back to say, well, that was more towards Steve Ditko's version of him. Even the way there's just so much originality with the character from the beginning. And as much as I love Superman, the design just seems very simple and of its time, very similar to a lot of other costumes. Or where it just seems so original. Well, and when I was
sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say the one last thing, like when I was going through all these like different character designs, I kept falling on Steve Ditko's character designs, which I've never been a real huge fan of his art, but looking more and more on his designs, like how many Steve Ditko character designs have not changed from the beginning? Like, I mean, they're all very similar to the exact way they originally appeared.
Like, who else are you thinking of?
Doctor Strange, the Creeper, the Question, the Ted Kord Blue Beetle.
And yet?
Huh?
Well, I said,
and yet, that's not the one you picked.
Michael, I'm kind of wondering what you said a second ago about Superman, and being that the fact that, his costume was based on the time and being, muscle man costumes, bodybuilders is what he was based on. But then everybody kind of based their superhero on his look, which had it went a different way, and nobody had, said, well, we'll just make him look like Superman, all these other guys. We would have been more like, Superman is so original and iconic, and nobody else does it like that. But it's just the way it fell, that he was so popular and everybody loved the look so much that they made a billion other heroes look just like him.
I love it. This could have been anywhere on the list. It's Spider-Man's iconic. And this, the webbing, you can't beat red and blue. Red and blue is a great combo. There's a lot of costumes with red and blue, and you like them all. And the webbing really makes it for me. I always prefer the blue with the black shading instead of just going black. I like both of those just classic colors. And Spider-Man, like you said, Jordan, from the beginning, it was right. So at number 2, that is a solid pick. You're not breaking my heart to put it above Superman. And I'm excited. I have no doubt that Jordan can put in a good number 1 that is on par with Spider-Man. So what do you got for us?
Nothing is on par with Spider-Man.
It's a tough job.
That was my number 1, hands down. Happy to have it on the list. Having it at number 2 is fine. That's great. But now I'm scared to plug in the number 1, because there's a couple left that deserve to be on this list 1,000%.
I agree. And that's the beauty of this terrible way of doing it, is that everyone has to stress an scenario, and I love it.
Well, I've got one more in my top 5, but I don't think it's a number 1. It's a favorite of mine, but I would not call it a number 1. So I'm going to have to call an audible and go deeper into my runner-ups, but I still think it's worthy. And I don't think it's Superman. I don't think it's Wolverine. I don't even think it's Batman.
Wow. Wow.
I think it's Wonder Woman.
Yes.
Yes, he did it. He did
it. Princess Diana, Queen of the Amazons. I mean, again, one of the first heroes, one of the longest lasting heroes, one of the best heroes. had a good look at the beginning, but due to the time, had to wear the dress,
Mm-hmm.
due to the time and the tiara and the not so great, 1940s hair. So we moved into the more iconic 70s, 80s era with the Star Spangled shorts, the Linda Carter style look that everyone would recognize, and it's a wonderful, iconic look. But I think they've even improved on that in the modern day, and I love the way some of them draw her now with more of an armored look.
Mm-hmm.
She looks more like a warrior. The heavy boots and knee pads and the chest plate that's more like the Gal Gadot version. That's more
kind of
armor
metallic.
plating sort of thing. Yeah, and giving her bigger wrist. What do you call this?
Bracers.
Bracelets. So yeah, from the tiara to the boots to the lasso of truth is just perfectly iconic look.
Yeah, I'm totally on board with this. Like you said, I love the move from bracelets to bracers. That's a real armored look, like medieval look. And when they started going that way, it's just so much better. Rather than the flowy thing that they started out with. But that's a sign of the times. But to move it to this modernized version, it just keeps getting better. And as far as I'm concerned, I love that we got a girl on here. We made it happen. So and this is the one. This is an iconic costume.
One funny note is that when it changed from the dress, it went to more like spandex shorts, where it was like basically spandex. But
like those bike shorts or whatever they were, and the long spandex shorts.
I almost had this on my list because I love the George Perez design of that character, which is very similar. And I also agree. I love the more armored type look. And I like how they changed her brief bottoms to more of a I guess you call it an armored skirt or something, whatever you want to call that. It's a great design.
I agree, Michael. I think you're exactly right. Not only it's, as we've seen in those recent movies, it's a really neat design, but it's almost it pays a little tribute in a way to the original design, kind of going back to that a little bit, but yet it doesn't lose. It doesn't lose anything in a negative way. I mean, it still looks very, like battle ready. So, I had this as my, this was, I think, it was in my top 3 at least. Green Arrow, Wonder Woman, and Shazam that I had prepared coming into this. So I'm really happy with how it turned out. And I think, Jordan, you made the right call there. So honorable mentions.
Well, we threw out to the listeners. We had a few comments. Jesse, not surprisingly, went with the Punisher.
Street level starcher.
Said
he knows what's up.
His argument is for its simplicity. A large white skull on a black shirt being the only thing you may see in a dark alley.
Boy, that's rough.
That's a classic.
Great costume with the big white boots.
Yeah. And that's some symbiology there.
My brother chimed in and said they've been watching the MCU movies with my nieces, who are just finished 2nd grade or moving into 3rd grade. So they're watching the Marvel movies for the first time.
They look like they're straight off of the mascara.
Well, they didn't pick the Wonder Twins. Being twins, I'm sure they'll get enough of that.
What the hell? Shape of a baseball. Shape of a coach. Form of a mayor. Boom.
So the girls picked Iron Man. They like that Tony Stark armor. My nephew Xander picked Miles Morales.
Love that costume.
Which just last Christmas he got the Nike shoes from the Spider-Verse movie. He had to have Miles' shoes, so he's rocking the Miles' Nikes. My oldest nephew Jackson said Snake Eyes.
Yep.
I'm down for that.
Totally.
And then Jared picked Wolverine in the yellow and brown version from the 80s.
But they
Or
call it
maybe
yellow and brown. It's like
or whatever.
Orange
right.
and brown.
So they call it yellow and
Yeah.
blue was the other one.
Yeah. So not yellow. Yeah, orange and brown. The Hunter Wolverine version.
Yeah.
They said, or maybe Storm with the leather vest and the mohawk.
It's the mohawk makes the whole thing. Yeah, that's the best Storm. Yeah.
So then I asked Keisha from Schmomo News on Facebook, the source of all things nerdy breaking news. I asked her what her favorite hero was, and she said the Wasp.
She had millions costumes.
Yeah, Janet Van Dyne is famous for a million costumes, but she said her favorite was from the second Ant-Man and the Wasp movie. I appreciated it was good to fight in, and she wore her hair in a ponytail. It made it more realistic. So having that iconic Beyond Reproach ponytail.
Might have had pockets also.
Yeah.
They always say they want pockets.
And then she said she also loved the final version of Wanda's suit in WandaVision.
Yeah.
Michael,
So those are some of our listener picks.
Michael, where did you have Superman on your list?
I didn't have him on my list.
You did not. You did not.
Nope.
Number 53.
What else did you have that we didn't
I
mention?
had more Superman on my list than Michael did.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had the thumbs up Superman.
Yeah. At least we had to see it.
I had Big Barda, Mr. Miracle, designed by Jack Kirby.
That's
from
good.
his Fourth World Saga. I had Invincible, just because even though that I never really read the book, I always liked
Good
the costume. I love the costume design.
Good costume.
I had the original Ted Cord Blue Beetle, also designed by Steve Ditko. No 52 on that suit.
Yeah.
What I was going to go with my number 2 when I was worried if Jordan was going to have, but I had the black Spider-Man costume.
Yeah, that's great too. There's so many Spider-Man costumes, and they're all so many of them are good. Like, the Venom, the freaking Miles Morales.
What's amazing about that black costume is the story behind that is Jim Shooter had like some type of contest, and like some kid like submitted the idea, and like he paid for it, and it was just some random kid that was actually created the idea of the black Superman or black Spider-Man costume. On a funny note, I did have some non-uniforms, like the Incredible Hulk, purple pants.
I almost put that as a joke. Yeah.
And I also had the Savage Dragon because of his fin. His fin is very iconic.
Yeah, it's not a costume.
Seth would have torn you apart.
Yeah, that is not a costume at all.
Neither is the Winter Soldier.
It is. It's the threads, man. It's not. It's costumes.
I'm going to run through because I had a few more images. I'm going to run through.
Feel free.
Okay.
Please.
Zorro.
I thought of that one actually also.
Yeah. That was my
hat, cape, rapier.
Yeah. That Wild West look, but from, the Mexico region and very, very cool. I always liked that show. There was a cartoon when I was growing up briefly that I always thought was amazing, whether it be the sword or the whip or whatever. So, that all black look. I thought I was going to get torn up on this one. But Plastic Man was always a very, very original costume to me. Again, with those strings, kind of like Green Arrow.
Cliff loves the deep V.
I like the deep V, guys.
He likes the strings with the chest hair getting caught in.
Yes. And then Dr. Fate. This was, I almost brought this up when we were at the
that helmet and cape combo is really nice.
Yeah, I love it. So
I agree. Go on.
Hawkman, especially this Alex Ross version. I love the mask. But this just always, when I was a kid, this screamed superhero to me. That big bare chest with the straps and the the gigantic wings, and he flew and he carried that huge mace around. I just love that.
Bare
look.
chest. That's what you led with. That's what you led with.
I had a customer a long time ago say something I've never forgotten. He said, writers all want to write Doctor Strange and artists all want to draw Hawkman. But the books never last long. But that's, for some reason, Hawkman just is a draw for artists.
Yeah, amazing. In that very superhero-y green pants with the red shorts. I just always thought it was super cool. And then kind of off that, when you said Sunfire, it made me think of Firestorm.
I've always loved that costume design, actually. I completely forgot about Firestorm. That probably would have been on my list.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah, this was another one, I was at that age discovering these guys, and he was the cool new hero on the block in the cartoon. But I always thought it was a cool look. Whether, whoever Firestorm
Sunfire
was at that time. What's that?
Totally top Sunfire.
I was trying to get some ethnicity on this freaking list. Sorry.
Of course, Booster Gold. There's our Ted Cord, but I always love these two together. But I'm a big fan of that Booster high collar. Always dug that. Dan Jurgens look hasn't changed a whole lot.
I was surprised you didn't bring up either one of those.
Yeah, and then of course Wonder Woman we talked about those other ones. So yeah, that's
when you showed Hawkman. I didn't know how much push up back I'd get on that or not, but the orange, yellow, green look. I love Robin. I love Robin's costume. Yeah. Some versions of it are better than others, but I love those colors together, and I've always liked his costume.
Well, I assume Seth has no runners up because he used all of it.
I had to go through everyone. I went. You guys are like, no, not white, not white. We must get all the white boys on the list.
So I had a few more. I came up with 12 total, and like I said, I left Batman off my list and Wolverine off my list. Assuming someone else would use them because they're so obvious to me.
Yeah.
But I guess maybe we all were thinking we could get our favorites in without.
Yeah.
That's the risk we run.
Right.
But the only other one in my top 5 was another one that went.
Oh yeah, I was almost put her on here.
From humble beginnings, in a not great suit.
To the green skirt. You gotta
the classic Marvel, the classic Marvel girl look. That's been tweaked a little bit here and there. And she's had a million, the classic 90s look, the Grant Morrison turtleneck look, the X Factor look. But my pick would have been Phoenix.
Yes.
Where it evolved to the green bodysuit and that sash, that Captain Marvel looking, the sash.
Yeah.
And like I said, when I was talking about that was she was wearing a gown originally, and like they went out on the town that started off that storyline. And it ended up transforming into that costume.
Yeah, so the Phoenix logo on the chest and the two colors, and then of course you can go Dark Phoenix. You just flip it to the red. Yeah, it's basically the same costume. So there were a lot of X-Men on this list, so she probably didn't deserve to be on it as well. But that was another one I really liked. Let's see if my computer will go. Oh yeah, there's the classic look. I love Black Bolt.
Yeah.
That's just a great costume to me. I always love the little wings in his armpit. Both Snake Eyes and Scarlet.
Mm-hmm.
Great looks. Black Panther has had a lot of cool looks, but for some reason my favorite are the ones where the boots and the gloves had the stripes on them. Yeah. Again, one color, very simple. Me and Michael are 180 degrees on this, but they've done costumes where he has a long cape, where he has like the teeth around his neck, where he has more armor looking things. But I love the sleek, just 100% covered look. V for Vendetta with the Guy Fawkes mask and the big tall hat. And there's mine, Zatanna. Yep, that's all mine.
So nobody has Batman pictures? Nobody has Batman?
Batman is right out.
Bye, Batman. He was bordering coming on my list. I would have got there eventually. If you guys had any more vetoes, I'd eventually got to Batman. And other one I cannot believe wasn't mentioned because I prefer it to Shazam, the Flash. I like the Flash's costume. I can't believe that you three guys, none of you mentioned the Flash.
I thought Michael would have it on his list.
I thought about
Piping!
it. Yeah.
The red is redder.
And even that Hal Jordan look with the green vest with the black arm and the white glove. Something about that color mixture just so clean and cool.
I thought about that too. That classic
Spider-Woman.
Yeah, Spider-Woman I saw on a bunch of lists. But that classic Hal Jordan kind of space cop uniform, pretty high up there. So definitely a different list than I had anticipated. But when have we ever done?
Let me read it off here real quick. Okay,
right, recap and let's see what we have done.
Yeah, number 12 was Michael vetoed Hawkeye, and it became Sunfire.
I did.
Sorry, Cliff vetoed Hawkeye, became Sunfire. 11, Zatanna. 10, Blue Beetle, the other costume. 9, Animal Man from Jordan. Number 8 was Captain Marvel, Shazam, the Lightning Bolt, Cape. Number 7 was Colossus, got vetoed from Michael. Nightcrawler got vetoed by me. He came up with the Captain / U.S. Agent, and I backed him up. We got it through. Number 6 with the great Daredevil costume. We finally got into a real classic costume there with Daredevil from Jordan. Our top 5, I tried to slip in 2099 Spider-Man. It got vetoed. Then went with the militaristic Winter Soldier popular costume of late. Got vetoed also. And so I said, fine, nope. I'm not going comic books. But with Mr. Incredible, his original costume, I like that. Number 4, no more vetoes were left, so I got to put in Captain America Kirby costume. Love it. Number 3, Cliff with his last pick, the great Green Arrow costume. We all loved, I think, except Michael, not big on the one color, but we love that. Number 2 was Spider-Man from Michael, the great blue and red with the webs. It's beautiful. And then number 1 was Wonder Woman from Jordan, our only lady on the list. But I think it's a good list. I think when you see it all together, I think we did the work.
We had Zatanna. We got 2.
Yeah, we had 2.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I forgot about her. Yeah, it's a good list. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
It may not be, if you Google top 10 superhero costumes, this is not the kind of list.
This wouldn't even be any of our top 10.
Exactly. So this is, we left it all on the table. There were no vetoes unused. We threw everything we had at it, and this is what we got. So if you're on this list, you survived the fire and the gauntlet.
Yeah, bravo. You did it. And we did it. So that was fun. And we're going to come back here in a few weeks. We're going to do our villains. So look forward to that.
That's going to be a heated argument.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be a different list.
Probably just do like a top 9. Or top 8.
Top 25.
All right, sign us off here.
Guys, I am Michael the Flip Easton.
I am Jordan Lowe.
What can I say? I like deep V's, guys. Cliff Barnes.
Wow. I'm Seth. Bye. Forever.
Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Sounds, music, and clips played during the podcast are property of copyright holders. All original content is property of www.udownwithkpp.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave a comment. Ka-Pow, the Pop Cultured Podcast, is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found. You can connect with us through social media on Facebook, YouTube, at the Ka-Pow Podcast on Twitter, or email the show, Ka-Pow, the Pop Cultured Podcast, at gmail.com. If you really want to go the extra mile, please sign up to be a patron through the Podbean app or our website, www.udownwithkpp.com, to receive special content and early access to some episodes. We are grateful to anyone that chooses to contribute, but please know that most of our content will always remain free, so please continue to like, comment, and share.